The views and opinions expressed do not necessarily represent those of Access Fort Wayne, the Allen County Public Library, or any other supporting group. Access Fort Wayne is a department of the Allen County Public Library. If you or anyone you know might be interested in making a television show, please call 260-421-1250.
Hi, Dr. Rudy Kachmann. Welcome to my Stopping, Preventing, Reversing Type 2 Diabetes show. I mean, it's wonderful news that you can prevent, stop it, and reverse it. And it's not that difficult. I've read enough of that literature. I've had enough patients who've reversed their diabetes, get rid of their renal disease, their vascular disease. It can be done. And I'm going to hold up probably a few books that you might want to use as a reference. You can get them in the library. That's where I'm at right now, Access TV, and I appreciate them letting me do this. Or you can go on YouTube, Rudy Kachmann YouTube, and you can watch other shows. But I don't want you to say, I accept diabetes, just give me my pills and shots. A few people you need to do that, but the majority you do not. So let's talk about that a little bit. Type 1 diabetes, you've heard about that. That's where your pancreas makes no insulin. It's usually seen in children. What does it do to autoimmune disease? Maybe mother ate the wrong thing, or drank the wrong thing, or smoked the wrong thing while you were still in the uterus. It can do it. It can do it, and you're born diabetic or develop diabetes as time goes on. Yes, your DNA, what determines what goes on in your body, is only about, that genetic script is only written about 25% by the time the child is born. So the activities the mother is doing, or even what dad was doing, it's in the genetic structure, but 95% of that script has not been written. So what the mother is listening to, what she's eating, writes a genetic script of her infant. What is she drinking? Is she smoking? Is she consuming nothing but sugary foods? That determines the genetic script of the child. Yes. So some are born diabetic already when they're born. Mm-hmm. Others can develop later on. Partly their genes may have changed in the uterus, but what they're eating, what type of food are they eating, helps write the genetic script. So, but what else can cause type 1 diabetes? Autoimmune disease, where the lymphocytes and macrophages, monocytes, attack the pancreas and destroy it. But another one that does it is milk. Yes. Milk can do it. Mm-hmm. The casein in milk can attack the pancreas, destroy it. Now you need insulin. Insulin takes sugar and pushes it into the cell. Okay, and that's important to know, because most diabetic, when they're on insulin, they gain weight because the sugar is now in the cell, makes the cell fat. It didn't metabolize the sugar. You see, so there's a problem with insulin. But some people need it. Type 1 diabetic, they will just waste away to nothing if they don't have some sugar. Gluten does it too. So in Australia, they do gluten tests on every person that's born, because gluten diseases are common. It's a protein in wheat, but this country we check only about 6%. So when someone has gluten sensitivity, the infant or child can develop diabetes because they're consuming too much milk, eating too much gluten product. Mm-hmm. Something that you need to know. The main thing we'll be speaking about today is the type 2 diabetic, okay? The type 2 diabetic generally is overweight, but not always. 20-30% of the people can be thin and indeed have diabetes because there's fat sitting in their liver, and fat is sitting in their pancreas, and the pancreas cannot put out any insulin. Mm-hmm. So you need to do blood testing, even in a thin person, yeah. And that would get at least a blood sugar. If I went and examined you and say you weigh 200 pounds and you get a blood sugar and it was normal, and the nurse say you don't have diabetes, I wouldn't agree. Suppose we then swallow 75 grams of sugar and then get a fasting blood sugar, 1 hour, 2 hour, that's called a glucose tolerance test because you were overweight. And they came back normal, and the nurse would say, you don't have diabetes. That is, I still don't accept that. But if we ran the same time, an insulin, the drug that pushes the sugar into the cell, and ran a fasting and 1 hour, 2 hour insulin level, and they were normal, then I would say you're not diabetic. You see my point? So I want everyone be screened, even as a child. Most pediatricians start screening kids at age 10. The biggest rise in obesity has been age 2 to 6. Those kids already may have diabetes and are not diagnosed till years later because they don't have a lot of symptoms. But by that time, their heart already may have heart disease, they may have brain disease, thyroid disease, kidney disease. What diseases are related to diabetes? Why I'm so passionate about helping you. Dementia, strokes, cataracts, retinal disease, gum disease, almost all dental disease is due to elevated sugar. Mm-hmm. Heart disease, thyroid disease, 80% of kidney disease is due to diabetes. Yet, when people get tested, they're not getting kidney tests when they're feeling fine, when in reality you may already have advanced kidney disease but have no symptoms. Kidney disease is measured step 1 through 5. If you're step 3, you may have no symptoms. But if they found out by running the proper tests, creatine, for example, BUN, albumin, tests like this, and check you if you might have kidney disease, you then could maybe rapidly eat different food, lose a little bit of weight, and your kidneys almost return to normal. When you're stage 4 or 5 kidney disease, have diabetes, go to the dialysis center and they want to do a kidney transplant. In 2 or 3 years, you may not be alive. I can prevent all that. You see why I'm passionate about the diabetes thing? Prevention is key. You can get rid of diabetes in 4 to 6 weeks, maybe sooner. I had a black minister recently who was from the Congo, Africa, in town, who listened to everything I had to say. He got rid of his diabetes in about 3 weeks. He had on him a glucose monitor, a Verti Lifestyle, Verti I think it's called. You can pull up on the internet. You put a patch on here, and through his phone, he can just go like this an hour or 2 after he ate and tell him his blood sugar. That's a good way to teach yourself how to get rid of the disease. It is not generally recommended. Only I see very few patients who have diabetes walk around with this. They all got to stick themselves and then look at a glucose monitor. That's okay, but the other one is so easy. Don't have to stick yourself, but every 2 weeks you don't even feel it. Verti or Dexcom, I think it's called. Look it up on the internet. I think it's a good way to manage diabetes, which you already have, because if you're on 4 or 5 medications, metformin, insulin, a whole bunch of things, they'll interact with each other And if you start eating healthy, you may have sudden dives in the blood sugar or tremendous elevations in your blood sugar. If you get one of these, you'll know it like that. Oh, it's 600. Well, then you know to go to the emergency room and call your doctor. Okay? So I think that's good advice. If you're on multiple medications, let your doctor know that you're going to change the type of food that you eat. Why am I so passionate about it? I see so many people who are blind, have had their legs and arms amputated from diabetes when it could have been avoided. The healthcare provider never brought up to the point that you can get rid of the disease. I don't want you to live with your diabetes and medications. I want you to get rid of it. I even had a pretty famous guy in town whose whole family is diabetes. Many of them died with it already. You know his name, I'm not going to mention it. And he said, I respect diabetes. I just take my drugs. No, I don't want you to respect it. I want you to get rid of it, get rid of it, get rid of it. I mean, I'm so passionate about it because I know it can be done. A book I wrote here, Rudy's War on Diabetes. Yeah, I've declared war on it. I'm just not going to put up with it anymore. And this is, you can get on Amazon or the library. It really explains in detail. I reread page 135 this morning to page 145. It's very simple, easy to understand. And I want to review a couple other books. And how do I get rid of it? So blood testing, blood testing, blood testing. If your doctor won't order it, you can go to any test. It's a business right by Walgreens or DuPont. I managed to negotiate down to $100. Insurance, no insurance. Otherwise, you go to the hospital, you have no insurance. They may say, that'll be $1,500. No, I got it down real cheap. You want to know what your blood work is. You are what your blood work is. Even if you're thin, you may be diabetic. Hard to know. You'll get symptoms years later and say, my God, I've had it 30 years. I could have gotten rid of it because it causes vascular disease throughout your body, kidney disease, dementia, all that can be avoided. So here's a couple other books I'd like you to look at. Here's a book, Beyond Simply Keto. Excellent. You know what I like about this book. For one thing, the lady in the cover, I guess we all like that. She used to weigh 300 pounds. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and in her book, she has pictures of all the recipes, breakfasts, lunches, dinners, snacks. In the bottom, it'll tell you how many calories, how much protein, how much fat, and everything beautifully calculated. In the first 30 pages, she explains what keto means. Ketones are complex molecules made in the liver, which are more energetic than even sugar. The brain runs good on it. And the way, let me give an example. If you follow simply keto, is that if you're eating good fats, and she explains to you what good fats are, guacamole and nuts and olives and other great fatty foods, okay? MCT oil, coconut oil, good fats. We're talking about these taste very good. And when you're eating good food like that, your blood sugar level drops after a few hours, okay? And then the insulin level drops because insulin gets a signal from sugar, okay? And the fat cells then open up because leptin control that as well as insulin. Leptin controls insulin through the hypothalamus. Fat cells come out. Fat goes to the blood, to the liver, turn into ketones, and that's what you're using for energy then. The blood sugar stays like this. None of this up and down and bad feelings you get from, oh, I'm hungry because the blood sugar's down. No. In keto, the blood sugar is like that. Matter of fact, triathletes go into keto metabolism. Fat metabolism instead of sugar metabolism, yes. And if you eat about 60 keto, diet will be 60 to 70% good fats, 20% protein. If you eat too much protein, the body needs a certain amount. when it decides it's had enough, it converts it to sugar. You want to gain weight? Eat a lot of protein. It doesn't just go to muscles. About as your body recycles 80% of the protein breakdown in your body that day. And what also happens, the other thing I like you to, and then vegetables and carbs on top of this food pyramid. The food pyramid is in here in this book, and it tells you the percentage. So I think this is an excellent book, and pictures of everything. Okay, of everything, and summaries and websites. This fantastic book. This is what I teach, because it's easy. I seem to follow that, and I like the fasting. 16-8, 16 hours you don't eat, 8 you eat. You can eat 3 meals, whatever, because you're eating good fats. Your appetite will be turned off. I eat this way, and most of the time I eat half the plate because my appetite is turned off. I only eat the amount that my body needs. The body is telling me that. If you eat sugary stuff, your blood sugar is like this and constantly stimulating your appetite. You bring it on. You can't just eat one donut. You got to eat a whole bunch. Believe me, I've been through that. And if there's a donut laying on my desk at home, I come home at night and there's 3 or 4 more, I will eat all of them, guarantee it. So it's a human thing. Just don't have them in the house, okay? And actually tonight, I'm having a keto dinner. That's what my wife already told me. And I'm full. I don't feel like eating anymore. So, but if you do the fasting, say 16, 15, 14 hours in there, what happens is after 6 hours, the blood sugar is down, but it is normal because of the fat, and autophagia, automatic cleanup of your body occurs, and injured cells, destroyed cells, new cells you might need, that repairs itself. So your body's undergoing repairs, and then you eat that 8-hour period. Most of the time, it almost doesn't matter what you eat, although I think, let's be careful here. I eat one of those 2 meals is, say, protein, good proteins, good fats, mainly good fats, a little bit of carbohydrate, okay? Eat a lot. Your blood sugar will stay like that. Then if you need a snack, fine, but eat the last meal around 6 o'clock. You're now in keto metabolism. You will lose weight quickly. Diabetes will go away quickly. Yes, most of the time diabetes can go away. Only very advanced type 2, where your pancreas is dead. You can get a C-peptide test. C-peptide, that tells you the state of the pancreas. If it's really working good, it's a 4. If you're getting down to a 1, but if you're still alive and you're taking no insulin, probably some of the pancreas is still functioning. And you know what I read in Jason Fong's book here? A very good book to read. He's from Canada. Very good book to read. And what he's saying is, if you get the fat out of your liver, get the fat out of your pancreas, most of the people who've even been diabetic for 23 years, been even on insulin for 20, 25 years, if they eat the right diet, get the fat out of their liver and pancreas, which you can get by eating the keto way, is that pancreas will wake up and secrete much more insulin. So check your blood sugars, because they may die. Yeah, that was an amazing thing in that book, that even 30 years of diabetes, if you start eating right, the fat leaves the pancreas and you may secrete close to a normal amount of insulin. I couldn't believe it when I read that. That wonderful news? Yes. So just to accept taking the pills and the shots instead of doing something about it is a mistake. I mean, it's like this. I know plenty of people like that. Remember the one guy I was talking about where his brothers and sisters have been amputated and they're dying one after the other, including the parents. I know them very well. They're well-known people in town. And I told them what to do, and they're still not doing it. Don't be blind. I respect diabetes. I take my pills. That's not what I want. If that's the best you can do, okay. You'll die in your 60s and 70s instead of living to be 100 and tap dancing and playing pickleball with me. Okay. And so this Simply Keto is a great book. I told you about my war on diabetes. And this Jason Fung, the diabetes code, he was he's a renal doctor, but all the renal disease he was treating, he noticed they're all diabetic. So we started reading about it over 10 years ago, and he realized that he would turn to diabetes as the main cause. Since that was causing the disease he was treating. He was tired of his giving medication, dialysis, and renal transplant. That could be avoided the majority of the time. And I hold the renal doctors responsible for not leading this fight. It shouldn't be a neurosurgeon. It should be their renal doctors should be leading this fight, because over 200,000 people die from kidney disease every year. The majority of that could be avoided. So you see my passion a little bit. So remember I spoke about the idea of fasting and 2 meals a day? This is an excellent book on that. Yeah, 2 meals a day by Mark Sisson. Very well, totally consistent with keto, totally consistent with fasting. I think this would be a wonderful read, because you need a few references. I mean, you say, Doc, too many books. Well, you're dying from this disease. Don't you think it's worthwhile a little bit? But I taught you a lot already. Learn what good fats are. Take a walk. Exercise is 20% of it. Eating right is 80% or higher of it. You can exercise, you don't eat right, this is not going to work. There was a guy named Tom Jelinek, who a PhD, who got diabetes, and he was wanting to get rid of it. So he wrote a book, Goodbye Pills and Needles. So he was getting insulin. Rethink type 2 diabetes. In a 90-day cure, Tom Jelinek, okay? And easy to read. And he speaks in there too about these drug companies. Eli Lilly is an example, who are making billions off of insulin, okay? Who also sell recombinant bovine growth hormone, which you give to cows, so they increase milk production 10 times. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Eli Lilly did that. They turned it into another company that is part of Eli Lilly, but they didn't want the Lilly name on it. Okay, so these companies need to step up to bat. I'm gladly have them come on my TV show. I doubt they'll show up and explain their aspect of it. But Tom explains it in very simple languages about insulin and blood sugar and how to stop, prevent, reverse diabetes. I really love his book. The explanations are fantastic. Just reading that in my book would be enough, but I really think this Simply Keto, so you understand what speaking about, and the fasting, the 16-8, which is well explained in my book, Rudy's War on Diabetes, and also well explained in Jason Fung's book. You need to understand that. That's the easiest way. You start stretching out the time and changing your diet somewhat. You don't have to change it. We're all different, you know what I mean? Some of us just got to have this, that, and the other, and you may even get away with it. So check your weight, check your blood system. I think that is important. But I like the way, the simple way, in the Simply Keto by Susan Ryan. She also looks at psychology of the whole thing, and tells you the calories that are in there. And I'll just open it up here. Look at this. So it's even meat. It's not a vegetarian or a vegan diet. Meat's protein. It's not sugar. Matter of fact, the other night I wanted a keto meal, and I asked my wife to surprise me, and I ate 2 pork chops. I had kind of not eaten pork chops in years. They were just delicious. They're in here, a little bit of a salad, but it told you the amount of protein, not that much carbohydrates, and had a good amount of protein there, which I don't want too much protein, but that was my main meal of the day. So remember the food pyramid: good fats, 50-60%, protein 20%, and the rest is carbohydrates and fruits. And you want to eat some of them because there's nutrients in them, enzymes in them. But you don't want to eat too much because most fruit and vegetables, even if they're complex, have sugar in them. Sugar is the booger and the hooker. That's the one you want to avoid. But this curry chicken salad, for example, it has 3/4 cup of mayonnaise, okay, but that's a good fat, okay? Curry powder, teaspoonful of turmeric powder, and half a teaspoonful of garlic powder, 3 cups of cubed cooked chicken breast, okay? 2 green onions, a stalk of celery, a tablespoon of chopped fresh cilantro, a half a cup of silvered almonds toasted, and a delicious meal. 278 calories. That certainly is not very much. Fat, 15 grams of fat. There's some 29 grams of protein. And total carbs are actually 5. And then they have net carbs where fiber doesn't count. So I just want to give you one recipe. If you get diabetes, please get beyond Simply Keto and eat out of that for 2 months. You will not have diabetes. I will bet anything that you will not have diabetes. And then gather some more information. Look at my YouTube shows. But don't just accept the pills and shots. And remember, your pancreas, you may have been on insulin for 20 years. Remember, I said not type 1, I'm talking about type 2. But even a type 1 patient should eat right because they need very little insulin, 20 units maybe. If they say, well, I got an insulin pump, I can take I'll eat any lousy meal and just pump more insulin in. Well, insulin has effects in the body. It stiffens the arteries. It causes weight gain. It causes dementia. It causes cardiac arrhythmia. Insulin does other things besides stuff sugar in the cell. So even a type 1 diabetic, watch what you eat. If you're only using 10 to 20 units of insulin, you probably live to be 102. But you got to eat right. Don't be a type 1 who just eats anything he wants to when he's got an insulin pump, sticks it in there, and he thinks that's not going to do it. So you need information. I'm providing you information. I'm doing this because I care about you. It's because I love you. And I provide this information to you. You can't afford these books, go to the library where I'm at right now and take a walk with me or tap dance with me or challenge me to pickleball at age 78 and no pills, 137 pounds. And believe me, that improvement in me occurred 25 years ago or so. I love you. See you next time.